hope that was enough of a break. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahabhiyam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Guror Gaurava Mayataha Guror Gaurava Mayataha Hari Brahma Harastrayah. Some problem? Oh, go. Okay. Good night. That's why everybody. Yeah, okay. Yeah. There's so much for chanting it out of memory. Gunair Gaurava Mayataha. Hari Brahma Harastrayah. Gunatitaya smakam. Guravo Gurutangataha. Yeah. So, this is a spin-off from being able to, from the suggestion that is made in the tradition. What is the suggestion? See the Guru as Bhagavan, as an incarnation of Bhagavan, as Ishvara. So this is the suggestion that is in the tradition for furthering one's own Shraddha, for being able to have the right attitude towards the teaching, towards the knowledge, towards the teacher, etc. This is recommended. And why is it recommended? So that one doesn't get caught up in the personality and the likes and dislikes of the teacher, and and make it into some kind of, this is one more trap of trust waiting to be broken. So when you look at the Guru as Bhagavan, what happens is that there is no possibility of the trust to break, because when you understand it as Ishvara, you Ishvarize the Guru by Ishvarizing your own distrust. This is what was said prior to the break. So now let us look at this verse. He does a very nice spin of him, and he says, how did Bhagavan gain prominence? Yeah, how does Bhagavan gain prominence? Very interesting question he poses. How on earth does Bhagavan gain prominence? How does Bhagavan become famous? How does Ishvara become famous? How? Exactly. So, because if you want to be Ishvara, you have to kill a few demons, you have to do a few things, and you have to release a few people and help people who shower gold coins on people who are needy. This is what you have to do, Ishvara like things. That is how Bhagavan becomes famous. Bhagavan becomes famous because Bhagavan is all knowing, correct? Bhagavan is omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient. Whereas I, who am trying to know this Bhagavan, don't even know how to spell these words most of the time. This is my problem. And so therefore what? Therefore this whole thing is very interesting. Here, how did Bhagavan get famous? Question is answered technically and traditionally by saying that Bhagavan is Bhagavan because Gunaihi Saha Vartate. Sagunam Brahma. So Bhagavan is Sagunam Brahma. Brahman, quote unquote, with attributes. It's like the infinite with infinite attributes, so to speak. And here is Brahman, which is all, which is all, which is everything. And this Brahman, in relation to the universe, gets an epithet of being creator, resolver, maintainer, correct? At least on the threefold function. Srishti Karta, Srishti Bharta or Dharta, the sustainer, Karta, the maker, sustainer. And then what? Harta, the one who resolves it unto himself, herself. So this Bhagavan is seen in a threefold way. And the Bhagavan is Bhagavan because it is Brahman with attributes. Attributes of the sixfold attributes. What are the 6 attributes? All knowledge, all fame, yashas, all Shri, all resources, and all balam, all strength, all vairagya, all all completely objective, completely dispassionate. And then what else? All overlording everything at all times. This is the sixfold qualities that quote unquote change the status of Brahman into Bhagavan. Correct? And the same Brahman is quote unquote changed into Jiva for because of 6 other qualities. What are they? Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Very interesting. इस तरफ भी 6, इस तरफ भी 6, 6 this side, 6 that side. Very equal. We are very fair in Vedanta. So 6 miserable qualities make this Brahman quote unquote within heavy quotes. Okay, so as though this Brahman takes on Jiva-hood or Jiva-ness. Jiva-ness is the one who is always begging, begging for some goodies in samsara. This is the Jiva. So then, this is the beggar. And then on the other side is the one who is giving to the beggar, Ishvara, who is all knowledge. So 6 bhagas. And on this side, 6 things that make you want to bhaga. Bhaga means run, This becomes Jiva. Correct? So then, along with attributes alone, Bhagavan exists. Otherwise, without attributes, there is no Bhagavan. Correct? Can you have Bhagavan without attributes? No. We are not interested in that also. That's why everyone in the Hindu tradition, we shamelessly anthropomorphize Ishvara. Oh, he looks hungry. Oh, now he looks angry. Now she looks cute. Now she's wanting this. We are all putting our own, desires. Yeah, now she wants to wear this. Did she tell you she wants to wear this? No, but I feel she wants to wear this. How did she tell you? No, I feel. She looks like she wants red color. Did she tell? No, she didn't tell. But this is how it is. So we have a wonderful way to be able to transpose our own desires and, to what's the word for it? To transfer our own desires and devices onto Bhagavan. And this is all part of the relationship building with the whole. Because we try to build a relationship. And what fun is a relationship if, you don't have the ability to read the other person's mind and say this one wants this and that one wants that and this one is not having enough of that and all these things. So we anthropomorphize on purpose, correct? And why? Because the Bhagavan is seen to be with personality. Interesting. What were we talking about last time? Transcending the personality. Here, here he says that even though we are seeing Guru as Bhagavan, Bhagavan has a few limitations. What are the few limitations Bhagavan has? I'm going to read between the lines and mention the ones he has also not mentioned, but he is, implying poetically. What are the few limitations Bhagavan has? Bhagavan cannot be without attributes. Because Bhagavan has to have attributes. In fact, the what's the word I'm looking for? The conscious seeing, the deliberate putting forth of these attributes onto Brahman is what changes Brahman, the status of Brahman, from Brahman to be Bhagavan, Lord, Goddess. Because Brahman is neither Lord nor Goddess. Brahman simply is. It is existence limitless. It is knowledge limitless. So That's what it is. That is what Brahman is, and that is what you are. But I am not just knowledge limitless, I also have a few limitations. Yeah, that is what it is. It is limitless existence and knowledge coming into a container, upadhi. This upadhi is there, no? So this upadhi of the jiva, the container in which the jiva comes, it's as though the limitless whole has entered into a limited container. Like even space has entered the pot and then gets the new name pot space. Correct? Same thing. And so on the other side, the same Brahman has assumed a infinite upadhi container, an infinite upadhi, a limitless container called Bhagavan. So this upadhi is the guna here. That's why it is called Sagunam Brahma. Ishvara's another name is called Sagunam Brahma. Means this Brahman, invoked along with various attributes as the creator of the universe, as the sustainer of the universe, maintainer, and as the resolver of the universe. And so then, since they have forms and functions, they also gain new name. Hari. Hari is what?
Vishnu.
Hari is Vishnu. Hari is Vishnu, one who maintains. Yeah. Harihi, the one who takes away papas, is called Hari. Then Hara. Hara is who? Shiva. Hara is Shiva, same root verb, the one who takes away everything, all my pains and sorrows. Hara. Then Brahma, not to be confused with Brahman. Brahma means what? The Bhagavan with reference to the status of the creator. So this is the threefold form and function, also known as the Vedic or the Hindu Trinity. The one who, in fact it's all one, but from the standpoint of the particular form and function, we have these different, invocations. So, a play on the word guru. When you make guru into into an abstract noun, guroho idam, when you make it into a secondary noun, tadhita, what do you get? Gauravam, the status of being guru. Now guru also has two meanings. One is teacher, another one is, what is the another? No, what is the other meaning of the word guru? Huh? One means teacher. Huh? The neuter noun guru means heavy. Yeah. So guru, laghu, heavy, light. Okay. So he is word playing on the word guru, and he says Gunaihi, because of all these attributes and the famous works. And then if you see the whole thing, and each incarnation of Lord and Goddess, they have so much prowess. They have to have killed a few demons. They have to have offed them, and they have to have sustained law and order in the time and place of the incarnation. They have to turn what is that? One slice of bread into many, and all these kinds of things, water into wine. All these are these are all what is called gunas. So gunaihi, because of these gunas, or even you can take it as itham bhute, through these gunas, living in the form of these gunas, gauravam ayataha, they have gained. Gauravam means what? They have gained a presence, a heaviness. They have gurutam ayataha gauravam, same thing. They have gained a certain heaviness of presence. Heaviness means what? They have an abiding presence in the minds of the devotees because of this, because of which they are heavy. So they have gained a certain presence, a weightage Yeah, don't say heaviness of presence. That's just to translate it. They have gained a certain weightage because of these provinces, and because if you take the provinces in particular, or if you take the 6 bhagas in general, they have gained a certain weightage. Where in the world they are famous. In the minds of the devotees they are famous. Gunaihi gauravatam ayataha, they have gained. Who are they? These 3 fellows. Who are these 3 fellows? Harihi, Brahma, Haraha, Hari Brahma Haraha. So these 3, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, Hari, Hara, and Lord Brahma, from the standpoint of viewed, when the whole universe is viewed from the standpoint of the creator, the sustainer, and the resolver, they have gained a lot of weightage. And what about my guru? My guru is different from all of them. Yeah. My guru puts these fellows to shame. Gunatitataya asmakam. Asmakam guruhu. Asmakam here means our gurus, but here it's the plural is used for respect for the gurus. And so, Gunatitataya asmakam gurutam gata. What about, why is my teacher famous? Why does my teacher have weightage? How did my teacher establish himself, herself in this tradition? By being free of all gunas. Fantastic! Yeah. Gunaihi gauravatam ayataha Hari Brahma harastrayah Gunatitataya asmakam guruhu Gurutangataha. Again, plural is for respect. There is only one guru. He is not talking of a horde of gurus. Yeah, only one. So, Gunatitataya. So, this Gunatita means free of attributes. And what are these attributes here? Sattva. He is going to explain later. Rajas and Tamas. These are the attributes. And what is Sattva? What is Rajas? What is Tamas? Let's take the baddest one first. Tamas. What is Tamas? Huh? Yeah, laziness, inertia, slothfulness, and then and also the the mental qualities of resentment, bearing a grudge for several lifetimes. All this comes under Tamas. And Rajas, this is all when it's unbalanced, not when it's in balance. When it's unbalanced, what happens? It's an excess of it. So when it's unbalanced, Rajas means movement, but Rajas here does not mean movement. Rajas here means anger, restlessness, fear. All this is Rajas and Tamas. And blaming somebody, revengefulness, jealousy, all this is Rajas. Then Sattva. Sattva means all godly qualities. And again, these are the 3 attributes with which the Maya has painted this whole universe. So the whole universe is in a web of these 3 attributes. Everything you take, you take apple, it will have its own proportion of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. You take a flower, you take a person, everybody will have a certain measure of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. These are the primary colors with which the whole universe has been colored. So in other words, the Sattva, Rajas and Tamas is an Indrajala. Indrajala means a magic web that has been cast over this Jagat in a way that has kept the Jagat imprisoned from coming out of this Maya, really. Yeah. The bars of the Maya's prison are Sattva, Rajas, Tamas alternating, yeah. So that's why the whole Jagat is saying, let me out, let me out, let me out. And you can do something if the bars are real. But what if the bars are painted in front of the cornea? Meaning everything that you see is vitiated by Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. So you can't even rattle the bars or saw them off like a clever robber would. You cannot even do that because they are just painted onto the eyes. Your vision is vitiated by these, principles. In fact, in balance, it is what keeps the universe in a homeostasis. There is a certain, sleeping time, there is a waking time, rajas, tamas, and there is a certain, element of compassion that is even practiced by, in fact, better than us, the dogs and cats. We find this. I read somebody sent me recently one story of one cat that they were going to, it was in some shelter, and ordinary black cat, they were going to kill it. They were going to just, say there is no room for it. But then they saw something, what it did. And what it did was, whenever because this animal shelter was also taking in sick animals, and they were all lying in their little, hospital beds with, no, really, with a little IV and everything, and a blanket. So this cat would go and sit right next to that one. Anyone who was the sickest, anyone who was going to die, anyone who was, very sick, this would go to this was called the ICU cat, because it would go into the veterinarian ICU and comfort all the animals. So like this, this is these are the kinds of stories we see. That is the sattva of the animal, the sattva principle coming out. You see that. And and one time this story became very famous 10 years ago. There was a pair of twin girls that were born. And then one of them was just very low body weight, and very sick, born so sick, they said she's going to die. And immediately they whisked her off into the ICU. And one nurse was thinking, and she just took the other one also and put it next to this one. And the next day, they found the healthy twin hugging. She was just 1 day old. She's hugging this newborn, with her arms. She's just put all her body and everything on her, unmindful of all the pipes and everything going on this sickly baby, and the baby recovered, And so like this, we see sattva in action in the universe, even where we don't expect to find it. Among people and animals that cannot even express themselves. We see rajas, we see the dragonfly, we see the hummingbird, how many times it does. This is the rajas in balance. You see all this, you cannot but be in awe of Maya. You see tamas, you see how the sleeping plant wakes up, when the sunflower wakes up with the sun. You see all these things, it's just so awesome. And then, but then it's also a little bit of a trap, is it not? Yeah. Why is it a trap? It's a trap because I get lost in this. I get lost in my own mental rajas tamas, my own emotional makeup, my own physical makeup. It seems like a trap that I cannot come out of, except through this knowledge. The knowledge releases me from the trap of sattva, rajas, tamas. How? Because I learn to not be a slave to it. I learn to see it as mithya. Mithya is Ishvara, Mithya is Bhagavan, but I Ishvaraize these attributes and don't fall prey to them. This is how the whole thing is. How to not fall prey? Because the thing is that even though it is there, it is the founding bricks of the whole universe. It's the brush with which the whole universe is painted. Still, even though the brush can only paint what? It can paint me a body, which has to conform to the laws of rajas, tamas, sattva. It can paint me a mind. It can paint me the breath. It can paint me all this, but it cannot paint me. Why? Because I'm already self-existent. Yeah. It can only paint a dependent reality. It cannot have any say over the independent reality, which is myself. In fact, I see myself first as this, then I see myself as lending Maya a helping hand with her brush strokes. That is that is another level that one can go. When you see yourself as Ishvara, then Ishvara is the one that is telling Maya what to paint, how to paint. This is what it is. So it's a co-created universe here. That's why this is the only tradition where the jiva is not seen as a creation. Yeah, you are not a creation because you already were existent, because you know you are. So therefore Guru, the one who is the epitome and the conduit of this ultimate knowledge, which says that I am already free of the confining brushstrokes of these principles which have in fact made the universe what it is. These confining brushstrokes of duality have no use for me at all. This is what the Guru is, this is what the Guru teaches. Fantastic! Yeah, and so my Guru gains weightage in my mind. I don't know how these three fellows, became famous. My Guru gains weightage in my mind for being free of the gunas. It is easy to have gunas and prowess. It is easy to have, gain attributes and medals. Brahma has got a medal. Ishvara, Shiva has got a medal. You are hereby the one that dispossesses everything from everyone. Okay, big medal. And Vishnu has got a medal because he meddles in everyone's affairs and makes sure they are okay. So everyone has got a medal. Why? Because they have all these attributes. They have got this weightage, a weighty presence, which is also known by the word Guru. So my Guru gains Guruta, pun intended. Guruta means the status of being a Guru and also weightage. Both meanings you have to take, neuter as well as masculine here. My Guru gains Guruta. My Guru gains weightage for me. Why? Because being free of these attributes is much harder than to be stuck in these attributes and to be wanting these attributes. So see, the attributes are different. In the first instance, what are the attributes? Prowess. The prowess of the Lord in fashioning this universe, etc. And then what? In the second instance, the attributes are Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Very interesting. So perfect, beautiful. Gunaihi gauravatam ayataha. Ayataha gained. Gunaihi, the ones who have gained weightage in this universe, the ones who have gained fame, Shiva, Vishnu and Brahma, these fellows I can make short shrift of. Why? Because they don't hold a candle to my teacher. Asmakam Guruhu, my teacher. Gurutam Gataha, my teacher has gained weightage and my teacher is truly called a teacher. Why? Gunati tataya, through being free of the confining attributes of the body mind sense complex. Fantastic. Yeah. What a nice thing it is, huh? Very nice. So we have done all the words there. Yeah. And then next one. Purantakaharo Rudraha. What happens there? Okay, now let's try that again. Purantakaharo Rudraha. Kamsakeshi Haro Harihi. Chandamundahara Chandi. Sarvadvandvaharo Guruhu. Purantakaharo Rudraha. Kamsakeshi Haro Harihi. Chandamundahara Chandi. Sarvadvandvaharo Guruhu. So then that was just a little precise statement in verse number 6. Actually in English the verse numbers are given, they are given on the side, on the left side they are given. So in verse number 6 what we had was a little taste of what he is going to develop in verse number 7 and 8. Verse number 6, 7 and 8 are to be taken together because they have the same topic. So here what he is going to develop in 7 and 8 was talked about in a capsule form in 6. Now he is going to elaborate. So then he says, out of these three fellows, who are these forms of Bhagavan, Shiva is here called Rudra. Hari has retained his title, And Brahma cannot be brought in here because Brahma does not destroy anything, he only creates. And then, so he brings in the goddess. And so he says that each one has got prowess because they just, put an end to two demons. They have gained fame. Each one has gained fame by putting an end to two demons. Each one is known for putting an end to two demons. Not that they were only two demons, but these two demons were the worst to kill, very difficult to kill, to destroy, to vanquish, to annihilate. So therefore they became famous for these two demons, each one two demons. So the first one is, he takes Rudra. So the Rudra destroyed what is the demon called Pura and the demon called Antaka. Antaka is Lord Yama, and Rudra, that is Lord Shiva, destroys Lord Yama, means that gives this knowledge of immortality. That's how there is no death. There is no death because I understand I am not the body ultimately. I am not even the mind. I am nothing finite that is subject to death. I am not subject to birth, so therefore there is no death. This knowledge, the one who gives, is called the Antaka, Antakaharaha, the one who is the destroyer of Lord Yama, the minion or the Adhishthana Devata, the deity in charge of death. Okay. So Purantakaharo Rudraha. Who is this Pura? Pura is Tripura actually. Namaste astu Bhagavan Vishveshwaraya Maha Devaya Trayambakaya Tripurantakaya. Tripura and Antaka. Pura is actually Tripura. Tripura means the three cities. What are the three cities? Body, mind, sense complex you can take, or you can take three lokas, Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Suvaha, or sometimes they take three chakras. The chakras are certain energy centers within the body that stand for certain things, like the Ahankara and whatnot. Or you can take the three subtle, the subtle body, the physical, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body. The one that puts an end to all these, and they're not really demons, but they can have a kind of a wrong influence on oneself if one identifies with them, So therefore it is called Purantakaharo Rudraha. And the word Rudra he uses because the one that makes you cry, and the Bhagavan in the form of your own karma phala, your own, what is that called? The results of action. Your results of action are given back to you, and Bhagavan is just, tied the ribbon on the box, that's all. But still Bhagavan gets the name as the chastiser and the punisher. And then having made you cry, he also offers a hanky, Rudanam Dravayati, chases away the tears and the fears. Also Sarvan Rodayati, makes everyone cries, whenever they get their karma phala back, they all cry. So this is why, I sometimes refer to the manifestation of Bhagavan as Rudra as the hanky Bhagavan, hanky God. So here, this Rudra which is the scene with endings, has ended, mortality and all these things. And then what? Hari, that is Lord Krishna here, Vishnu as Lord Krishna, has gained fame by killing Kamsa and Keshi. Keshi is some demon, I forgot what he did, but some bad things he did. Kamsa, of course, everyone knows, a cousin of Krishna's mother, kind of an uncle, who wanted to usurp the throne and wreak havoc on the kingdom. So Kamsa and Keshi were destroyed by Lord Krishna. Pura and Antaka were destroyed by Lord Hara, Rudra. And then what? The goddess, not to be left behind, she is called Chandi because Chanda and Munda, she both tackled these two. Yeah. Chanda means doubt and suspicion. Suspicion, doubt, conflict, all this is Chanda. Munda means Ahankara. Munda literally means head. Mundaka Upanishad. Yeah. Literally means head. The notion, the Ahankara, the ego. So she is the destroyer of despair, ego and wrong thinking, doubt, despair, all these things. So they all became famous for that. And what does it take for them to become famous? Just kill 2 demons and you're famous. Big deal. My teacher is famous because my teacher has put an end to all duality. Not just 2 demons. My teacher is the killer of the demon of duality. And these paltry demons, in the form of ego and all, these fellows have killed. But my teacher is even greater than Ishvara. Yeah, my teacher is better than Bhagavan. What can Ishvara do? He's going to ask later. What can Ishvara do? Ishvara can't do much. Even Ishvara has to become a teacher. My teacher is already better than Ishvara. He's going to say that later. Even Ishvara, in order to teach, has to become a teacher. Dakshinamurti, has to become a guru. And therefore, my guru is better than Ishvara. This is that whole section. Very beautiful. So here, what were we told earlier? Look upon the guru as Ishvara. And here, what does he conclude? My guru surpasses Bhagavan. So think about his Shraddha, huh? Yeah, my guru surpasses Bhagavan. See, it's not just empty rhetoric. It's not just flattery. It's not just praise. Actually, there is a truth to this. Because Ishvara is confined, the way we think about and the way the Vedantic tradition conceptualizes Ishvara, is Ishvara is confined because of his own laws in a certain way. Yeah. Here, because even if you ask Ishvara for something, and if it is not in keeping with your prarabdha, you will not get it. But here, Guru is free because Guru doesn't have the constraints of this Ishvara-ness. This is what he is trying to talk about. Guru is free, and therefore Guru is more powerful because this freedom is also freedom from being Ishvara, is understanding that I am Ishvara, I am not separate, but I am not stuck as Ishvara, I am not stuck as Jiva, I am that which is the limitless whole. So therefore, Pura and Antaka, these 2 fellows, Shiva swallowed, Kamsa and Keshi, Krishna swallowed, and the goddess swallowed some difficult demons in the form of Ahankara, etc. And what did my teacher do? My teacher swallowed up the entire gamut of the pairs of opposites, which is called Dvandva, which is called duality. Not just one opposite pair was taken care of. Not 2 opposite pairs, 3 opposite pairs. Here, the whole notion that each thing opposes one another is taken care of in one go, as soon as the Mahavakya is uttered, the whole duality collapses, into me who is all, who is whole, who is free, who is ever, ever present and wonderful. Therefore, my teacher is, shines, and these three Bhagavans are like an interesting backdrop in front of in front of my teacher. So he says this with a lot of pride. So there's not much more to say about that, because it's a elucidation of the last verse, and we have seen the last verse in great detail. यच्छन्ति देवतास्तुष्टाः
यच्छन्ति देवतास्तुष्टाः
यच्छन्ति देवतास्तुष्टाः
यच्छन्ति देवतास्तुष्टाः
धनमायुस्सुतं यशः
धनमायुस्सुतं यशः
धनमायुस्सुतं यशः
धनमायुस्सुतं यशः.
People are saying dhanam. It is dhanam.
धनम्.
Yeah. यच्छन्ति देवतास्तुष्टाः
यच्छन्ति देवतास्तुष्टाः
धनमायुस्सुतं यशः
धनमायुस्सुतं यशः
ज्ञानं केनाम दास्यन्ति
ज्ञानं केनाम दास्यन्ति
विना श्रीगुरुपादुकाम्
विना श्रीगुरुपादुकाम्
ज्ञानं केनाम दास्यन्ति
ज्ञानं केनाम दास्यन्ति
विना श्रीगुरुपादुकाम्.
विना श्रीगुरुपादुकाम्.
Yeah. So, you know what? You can go to all these devatas. Devatas means presiding deities. This is how we look upon Ishvara. This is very important. We look upon, even though it may seem like a digression, it is not. We look upon Bhagavan, Ishvara, God, from different standpoints. And one very important standpoint is to see Bhagavan as the Adhidevata, Adhideva. Adhideva means what? That who is the controller of everything, in whose hand all the laws operate. And then we have another level called Adhibhuta. Adhibhuta means surroundings, my own surroundings. What is in my surroundings? The five elements, other people, other bodies, other minds, flora, fauna, vegetation, all this is in my surroundings. So how to look upon my surroundings? That also is Ishvara, that is also Bhagavan. And that is Bhagavan from the standpoint of Adhibhuta, from my surroundings. And then Adhyatma, centered on me, is also what? Bhagavan alone. That is also Bhagavan. What is the indweller of this body, mind, sense complex? Bhagavan. And then when I take in the air which is in the surrounding to breathe, that is also Bhagavan. And then when I exhale the air, first it is Bhagavan, then when it becomes prana in my lungs, that is also Bhagavan. Then I exhale the air, Bhagavan again. And that, that law, because of which the air goes into the what? The nostrils properly, and then having gone there decides to come out. This is very important. Having gone there, it should not think. Air can think. What has this fellow done in the last 60, 70 years? Nothing. I'm not coming out. What a waste of life. Yeah, air can say that, but it doesn't say that until it says that. And that is also Bhagavan. You see that? Yeah. So we see this Bhagavan because we say that everything is Ishvara. We Ishvarize everything. So how do we see this everything? The everything is seen from the standpoint of the individual and the total, and the intervening thing in between the individual and the total is the Jagat. The whole Jagat, which is Adhibhuta, that is also Bhagavan. And the laws that connect me, Adhyatma, to the Adhibhuta, to the surroundings, is also Bhagavan. You know? So this is so, therefore, so this is a very sophisticated understanding, because it's not some God sitting somewhere and, choosing a few people to, enter this place called heaven. No, and it's not the God in the form of a dispensation pump, dispensing some what is that called? Good graces and little boons here and there. We don't have that. We have this connection from the individual to the total. Everything is Bhagavan. Everything is a manifestation of the Lord, of the Goddess. The whole thing is one, and so we just see it from these three different standpoints. Why do they see this from three different standpoints? Because we can craft specific prayers at certain levels in order to intervene on our own behalf, because prayer is an action. So you can craft a certain prayer in order to have some relief from certain symptoms, for example. Like supposing the eyes are not working or not working very well. So what do? You can pray, you can have a general prayer to Bhagavan, Adhideva, please help me with my eyes. You can also have, on the level of Adhibhuta, another prayer. What is the prayer? You actually go to the law of sight. And what is that? What is sight? Sight is like the light, correct? So what is the big source of light? The only source of light I know, the sun. So the sun becomes the Adhishthana Devata, meaning a kind of a direct manifestation of Bhagavan, the presiding deity that governs eyesight. Yeah. So you can, if you are having eye problems, you can chant what is called Aditya Hridayam. It's a 32-33 verses, Actually it is to impart courage, but it's interesting. Courage and eyesight. Maybe there's something, there is some connection there. So then, same thing with the ears. The ears are not functioning. The ears have to do with space, sound and space. Space means directions. So there are Dig Devatas, the presiding deity of the directions. I invoke Bhagavan as the presiding deity of the directions to help me with my ears, with my hearing. Same thing with so many other things. With the mind. The mind is in tandem with the moon. Yeah. Mind and moon go together. So like this. So people who are having lot of anxiety, lot of anger, they are told to wear some moonstone, cooling. That kind of a thing. So this is, what is that called? Gem. Is there a word, gemology? Okay, now there is. So, there is? Okay. So this is some kind of a, study of gems, gemology. Yeah. And so like this way we can have this kind of a thing. So here Devatas means not Bhagavan himself, herself, but Bhagavan in the form of these various small deities that are specifically crafted and invoked, so that the prayer gets a particular form and a very pointed focus and direction. This is what is the thing. So yachanti tushtaha devataha. Tushtaha, when propitiated. Yachanti. What everybody should know the meaning of yachanti. Otherwise the class is going to stop right here. What is yachanti? Yacha? Huh? Yachati? Huh? To give. Yeah, yachati. Yeah. Yachati means to give. Yeah, this everyone should know. Yeah, yachanti, they give. What do they give?
Knowledge.
No, these devatas.
Oh, the devatas.
Yeah, the devatas. What do the devatas give?
These boons
Yeah,
boons.
boons. All kinds of boons they give. Yachanti tushtaha devataha. Kim yachanti. Yeah, this is what they give. You should read forward to say what they give. What do they give? Dhanam they give. What is dhanam? Money. Yes. Money they give. Wealth they give. What else do they give? Ayuhu. Long life they can give. Sutam. Sutam means children they can give. Yashaha.
Fame.
Fame. Success. Fame means what? Today you looked at yourself in Google and there was nothing. Then you prayed to the Google Devata, and then what happened? In next day there was pages and pages of you saying something. Okay, so you suddenly became famous. So they can give these kinds of worldly things. Yachanti devatas tushtaha. Tushtaha means when propitiated. When you pray to them, you know they give, because this is your own law of karma. It's not that there are these devatas dispensing things. It's action and result of action. So prayer is an action. You are asking something in prayer, and if there is no other major karma opposing it, it will be given to you. It's the result of your prayer. Is the what you call the boons of the devatas. There is no boon. It's just the result of your own prayer. So you pray, and then you can get the following. You can get wealth, and then what? You can get a long life, and then you can get progeny, sutam, and then yashaha. You can get success and fame, all in the these are all, what are these? Collectively, they are swimming strokes to keep afloat in samsara, in the sea of samsara. This huge ocean of samsara which is brimming with the crocodiles and alligators and sharks of despair and what? Despair and doubt, and here you need some swimming lessons, because you are going glub, glub, glub under. Because the seaweed of disaster is encircling your feet. You are going under, and you say, Deva, help! Oh, here, you said help, so here. Backstroke, front stroke, butterfly stroke, how to stay afloat. No, but that's not what is talked about. Dhanam, wealth is not backstroke, it is backstroke. Because for a little while it stops you from complaining. And then what? Same. Business as usual. And then what? No, now I'll have a child. Okay, for 20-25 years you stop complaining. Then again back to complaints. Or maybe you stop complaining till the progeny hits teenage. Then you start complaining again. Then ayuhu, long life. Long life, how long can you live? Keep living, living. Then you say, Yama, where are you? Come and get me. Swing low, sweet chariot, come. Then you yourself start praying, because you can't see, you can't hear, you can't eat, you can't walk, you can't do anything. But what is the use of this Ayu without health? But why I didn't ask for health when I asked for Ayu? Because I was in a hurry. Forgot. So then, yashaha, fame. Fame is okay, you feel good. Oh, at least I'm famous at home. Everybody is famous at home, correct? And everybody is famous with their pet dog or pet cat. Yeah, not pet cat, pet dog definitely. Yeah. Cat will just shake its leg and go away. It's not in the least bit interested. But dog will be having this unflinching loyalty. And you are famous. The dog thinks you are really famous. And, maybe some family members also think you are really famous. But beyond that, okay, maybe, like Obama, you are world famous. But still that also carries a lot of headache. You ask Obama, he will say, I can't even go for a walk without these fellows disguised in, the security detail. Yeah, not so secret service, And one day he just went without telling anybody, and they all got really, they just bent themselves out of proportion trying to find him. He was just taking a walk. So like this, you can't say anything, you can't say, whatever you say will be used against you at all times. So, it's not nice to be famous either. And no, just the right amount of fame. That right amount of fame is also very difficult to manage. Try managing fame. Not easy. So therefore, these are all very finite things you can get from the devatas. Yachanti devata tushtaha dhanam ayuhu sutam yashaha. Sutam also, children also, they have to be what? They have to be certain kind of children. Otherwise, what's the use of having them? And then, then these devatas, these small ways of invoking all these front stroke, back stroke, etc., none of them can give knowledge. None of them can give knowledge. The knowledge is gained only from the teacher, not even from Bhagavan. That is the thing. You can pray for knowledge, and what will Bhagavan say? Here I have sent you a teacher. Yeah, this is what happens. You pray for knowledge, see, you never get what you want. This is the law of the universe. You ask for knowledge, Bhagavan says, here, deal with a teacher. Yeah, now I have to deal with this teacher till I get the knowledge. And then anything you ask for, it never comes in the correct way. It always comes, because Bhagavan has a sense of humor. It always comes with a little punch, You can see Ishvara's sense of humor in the answers to our prayers. Yeah. Oh Ishvara, you said every prayer is answered. How come I didn't get what I want, you ask? And then the answer comes. Yes, indeed, my dear Jiva, every prayer is answered, but sometimes the answer happens to be no. That's all it is. So we have to deal with that. So like this, so many things people ask. It comes back in very interesting ways. Yeah. So this woman told me this, very interesting. She's somewhere in Iowa, okay? And she said to me that she had gone through a bad marriage, divorce, and it had been several years, and now finally she was ready, these are her words, to meet, to welcome a man into her life. This is what she said. To meet her, to greet her soulmate, to welcome a man in her life. So she said, I want to pray. I said, pray. So I said, how do you pray? Like, what is your ancestry and how do you pray? I wanted to just see. So that to be able to help her. She said, I follow the African, tradition. I said, pray however you pray, you please pray. Then I met her at one conference 1 year later. Then, she looked happier, all the trauma had gone. I said, so, how are you? What happened? Did your prayer get answered? She said, we have to meet for lunch and we have to talk about this. I said, oh good, she's going to give me some good news. Now she has a partner or husband or something. And then she said that, what happened? She said, I said, how did you pray? She said, I want some wonderful male energy. So what happened was that she, somebody called her and said that there are 3 male puppies who need a home. So then she gave them a home, and I said, so things are better? She says, I don't know if I'm better, but I have no time now because I'm taking care of these puppies and I'm taking care of these animals, and so like this. So Bhagavan has a sense of humor, Yeah. So like this, these devatas can give small things. These dispensing devatas can actually be dispensed with when you need the knowledge. Yeah. These dispensing devatas who give small things which amount to just doing front stroke, back stroke, butterfly stroke in the horrid ocean of samsara can be easily dispensed with when you understand what is it that you really want. So, jnanam kim ke nama dasyanti. It's a rhetorical question. Who out of these, which of them are adept at giving knowledge? They can give you a person who will give you knowledge, but they themselves directly cannot instruct you. And so, therefore, without the blessings of the sandals of the teacher, because the feet are seen as the foundation of the knowledge, without the blessings of the Guru Paduka, the sandals of the teacher, how will the knowledge come? You can get anything that you want within samsara, but to cross over samsara, what you need, you can get only through a teacher. And this whole metaphor of crossing is then developed in the next mantra. Vina means without, okay? Without Sri Guru Paduka. No, not in the next mantra, the one after that, but the next one also is very interesting. Jayati Shri Guru Nam Hi
Jayati Shri Guru Nam Hi
Charanabja Rajo Gunaha.
Charanabja Guna
It is cha, not ja. Yeah, Charanabja Rajo Gunaha.
Charanabja Guna
Hatastrayo Yadekena
Hatastrayo Yadekena
Rajasatvatamo Gunaha.
Rajasatvatamo Gunaha
Yeah, not Gunaha, Gunaha. Jayati Shri Guru Nam Hi
Jayati Shri Guru Nam Hi
Charanabja Rajo Gunaha.
Charanabja Gunaha
Hatastrayo Yadekena
Hatastrayo Yadekena
Rajasatvatamo Gunaha.
Rajasatvatamo Gunaha.
So therefore, without the teacher's sandals or the teacher's feet, the blessing of the teacher, in other words, the blessing of the sandals of the teacher, this knowledge is not gained. This is where we concluded last time, correct? In the last verse. So, therefore, the next one is a tasmat verse. Therefore. Therefore what? Jayati, may it be victorious. Victorious it is. Victory be to what? Shri Guru Nam Hi. Victory be to Charanabja Rajo Gunaha. A small, grain of sand. Raja here is sand. A small grain of sand that is captured by the water, water, used to wash the charana, the feet of the Guru. So imagine the Guru walks in from outside. There is a small speck of sand because carried in from outside. A small dust speck. Actually, Raja here means sand. Small speck of sand or dust, that is there in the foot or in the feet somewhere. Then the washing of the feet of the teacher by the student or students, what does it do? It displaces that small speck of dust, right? The water displaces the speck of dust. And what is it actually doing? The small speck of dust which is displaced by the water is actually displacing, is having so many blessings within it that it is displacing the three gunas, Rajas, Sattva and Tamas within me. My entrapment in the three gunas. So Jayati, victory be to that small speck of dust of the feet of the Guru that I as the student managed to trap in the water that I washed the feet of the Guru with. And that Rajo Gunaha, that Gunaha is, that Gunaha means immeasurable, small, minuscule piece of sand that was there in the feet of in the water of the feet washed by the student, water of the feet of the teacher washed by the student. That small speck is powerful enough to dismiss the entire samsara. What a thing to say. Yeah, Jayati, may this tradition live long. May the relationship between the student and the teacher live long. Jayati has all this, the weightage of all this here. May all the students in their own turn and time become teachers. And may this unbroken line between teachers and students continue. Jayati. Jaya means this is the victory lap. Yeah. What is the victory lap? The victory lap is my surrender to the feet of the teacher, to the foundation which is this knowledge, which has, and my surrender gives it the ability to displace my placement in the entrapping gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, that we have discussed at length. See, that's why at that time I discussed it in great detail, because this would come. Yeah. So then we could enjoy this now. Because that sattva, rajas, tamas, in which I am trapped. I am trapped in the vagaries of the body and the vagaries of my own moods. One day resentful, one day upset, one day sad, one day mad, one day bad, one day feeling low, one day feeling blue, one day feeling yellow, one day feeling green. Yellow means sick. One day feeling green, one day feeling, red. All these vagaries are gone, because I have discovered the truth of myself as the most stable one that is beyond all these variables. And how did I discover this? My own humility to approach this knowledge and the teacher with the right attitude. My own Shraddha has given me this present, and I have been fully blessed. So the pun, of course, is in Rajoguna, and the tamas, rajas, and sattva, all those are also gunas. So the speck of dust is called Rajoguna, and then so this Rajoguna of the teacher's feet, which is washed by me, has given me, that little speck of dust has given me enough insight to what? To dismiss the three gunas. In other words, this little speck of dust, what it has done, it has displaced this all the dirt, inside the heart, all the dirt in the form of ragadveshas. So even though this is a speck of dirt, it has displaced all the inner dirt and given me antahkarana shuddhi. It has given me a clean ahankara with which to receive this knowledge. An ahankara and antahkarana that is free. Antahkarana means the mind. The mind that is free of all appendages of limitations, fears, tears, desires, strong preferences. What else? Anger, misunderstanding, resentment, all that has been washed away in the act of washing my. Here I thought I was washing my teacher's feet and making them clean. Here I was under the impression that I'm doing a favor to the teacher and giving the teacher a pedicure. But what was happening in this pedicure is my own wrong notions of how I see the world were getting cured. That is the ultimate cure. So here I am washing the feet of the teacher and saying, there is the dust. Good thing I washed it. Now the teacher's feet are free of dust, free of all the sand that he or she had dragged in. And then in the process, what happened? My own vision got cleared of all the sand that I bring in. The sand storm of subjectivity with which I view the world has gotten completely cleared out. I am able to be objective. So this is another beautiful displacement. It's whatever it's called. It's got a particular grammatical alankara has a name. This is a particular alankara where you displace this dust. The dust, although arising from the teacher's feet, is actually it gains its displacement, and because that is not important. Because the dust of the rajas, tamas and sattva combined, which is in front of my eyes, which is not helping me to see the truth of myself, that is what is cleared. Very nice. There is a certain name for this displacement it's a figure of speech. So somebody can look into it and tell me what that is. Very nice it is. Beautiful. So this is the teacher Jayatu, Jayati. And Jayati also means it is victorious. Victorious is this speck of dust. So A speck of dust fights through all these gunas, therefore it remains victorious. Literally it means that, but when you start anything with Jayati, means it's a sound of blessing, which we talked about. Yeah. Tarya vayam tari bodha
Taryavayam tarirodha
taraniyo bhavarnavah
Taraniyo bhavarnavah
tatkarnadhara rupena
Tatkarnadhararupena
tarakam Shri Gurum bhaje
Tarakam Shri Gurum bhaje
Taryavayam tari bodha
Taryavayam taribodaha
taraniyo bhavarnavah
Taraniyo bhavarnavah
tatkarnadhara rupena
Tatkarnadhararupena
tarakam Shri Gurum bhaje.
Tarakam Shri Gurum bhaje
Shri Gurum Tarakam bhaje. The one who helps me cross. Tarakam, the one who is the agent of crossing. Bhaje, I worship, I sing the praises of. And and then what is there to cross? Tarya vayam, we have to cross. That we should cross something. What is there to cross? Bhavarnavah tarya vayam. We have to cross the ocean of samsara. Tari bodhaha. The vessel is called tarihi. Tarihi bodhaha. The knowledge is the vessel of crossing. And that which is to be crossed is the samsara. And so the one who is the boatsman, the ferry, the one who ferries me across is the taraka, the one who helps me cross. The karnadhara means the one who holds the, when the ferry is there is I suppose this is more applicable for sailboats. In the ancient times, you would, you would be there at the helm. You would hold that tiller.
There's a tiller in the rudder.
Yeah, no, not that, but in the sails, the one who holds that, when the sails are hoisted and put down, because you rely on the wind. So whatever that person is called is called Karnadhara. Karna here means one end of the boat, Dhara, the one who holds that one end of the boat. Of course, being Narahari, there are some puns here. Karnadhara means the one who is in the stream of words, an endless stream of words that are being poured as a lovely warm oil in the ears, that are unguent and beautiful to listen to. So in that form, Shri Gurum, this Guru, I worship. More we will see. What is today? 19th of April. 3rd of May, I think, is the next class. Okay? Same time, same place. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate
Purnasya
Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So next class is May 3rd, means not that there are not other classes in between. There are many other classes. Yeah. So this is just this class is going to meet again in 2 weeks. That's all I say. Yeah, next class is on Tuesday evening. Yeah. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah. Rupaka. No. Rupaka is like a simile. It's not exactly Rupaka, but something is there. It's a displacement. I'll find it. You also look and see. Yeah, you had a question? Yes.
Well, I was going to say, so it sounds like maybe it's better not to do a bunch of praying, but to come to Vedanta class.
There we go. You actually do both. Pray to be in Vedanta class.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Huh?
Pray for the understanding while you're sitting there.
Yes. Pray for the understanding, pray for a clarity of mind, pray for there to be no blocks between you and Vedanta. All that. Very nice. And now we have the wonderful truffles. Yeah. Anything online? Okay, all the best. Even though in the beginning it looked like we were not making any moves, we finished quite a few verses,
Yeah.
right? Yeah?